Margot Ellis could have been successfully charged with voie de fait simple, simple assault, but the detective refused. You know, basically just didn't want to do it. So certainly SPVM interventions have been quite one-sided, you know, basically favoring the church more than anything else. And when something happens to me, they rarely act on it. Although I should say that they have acted on a couple of complaints in the past. So there have been two occasions where Unitarians have, you know, in one case stolen my picket signs and technically assaulted me, and on another occasion uttered threats against me. And on those two occasions, charges were eventually brought against the Unitarians in question. But they both were subjected to what's called non-judicial treatment of their crimes. One of them was a Queen's Counsel lawyer by the name of Kenneth Howard QC for Queen's Counsel. He, to make a long story short, stole at least two of my picket signs and then shoved me in the process of stealing my picket signs. He basically shoved me backwards. So, you know, I warned him. I said, you know, if you go into the church and you don't give me my picket signs, I'm going to be reporting a theft, you know, and might be reporting an assault too. He ignored it. He thought he was above the law, being a Queen's Counsel lawyer, you know, he'd be able to weasel his way out of it. And he did more or less weasel his way out of it by getting a non-judicial treatment. But nonetheless, you know, officers came, and again, to make a long story short, he was, I believe, charged, or maybe not charged, but I don't know exactly how the whole non-judicial, well, he must have been charged in order for the non-judicial treatment to come in, I'm pretty sure. And it was recognized, you know, the fact that he had committed a criminal offenses against me was recognized formally, and he was, you know, basically told to be a good boy for a year, which is kind of ironic because sometime later, perhaps even within the year, but maybe after it, he again was a bit of a jerk, and I was like walking on the sidewalk. He was coming towards me. I stepped out of the way to let him pass, but he came and got in your face with me. Like, he basically, even though I gave him room to pass, he came right up in front of me, and then he accused me of blocking the sidewalk. So my response to that was, how's my favorite petty criminal today? And you should have seen his face. Boy, the smile was wiped right off his face. He went red, if not purple, and did not look like a happy camper at all. And he walked away and he left, and I had never seen him since. That was the last time I ever saw him after calling him my favorite petty criminal. So the other occasion where the police did act on one of my complaints was when a guy by the name of Jim Wilson threatened me. I was protesting. I was basically coming along this way. He was entering the church along the path at the side there, and you know, as we got reasonably close, he said, come back here next week and I'll punch your fucking lights out. So this was a threat to punch me, and punch me into a state of unconsciousness. So I decided to take that reasonably seriously, and so what I did is I called in a 911 call and explained what had happened. And you know, I was thinking this was, you know, basically just a threat kind of thing, you know, threat of assault on me, and I didn't even like demand, you know, they do anything. I just was calling in, you know, like, what do you think, you know, like, what's your take on this, you know, should we do something about it? And the dispatcher who I spoke with said, oh, death threats. I said, no, he didn't, it wasn't a death threat, he threatened to punch my fucking lights out. And the 911 operator said, well, you know, if you punch someone into a state of unconsciousness, they don't always come out of it. Which is true. You know, some people are punched into a state of unconsciousness, and then they end up dying or going into a coma for many years and so on. So it was a valid point. So this particular 911 dispatcher considered this to be a death threat against me, and it was proceeded, in that manner. So to make a long story short, Jim Wilson was subjected to non-judicial treatment of his threats against me. And I could have actually had a restraining order against him. It was offered to me by the prosecutor. And I waived it. I said, no, it's okay. I think, the threat has been neutralized. I don't think it's necessary to have a restraining order. And prevent the guy from attending church at all. So I very generously allowed Jim Wilson to continue attending the church, while I'm protesting. I can't say that Montreal Unitarians have been similarly generous with me. Even and I've never done anything really that warrants any kind of criminal charge or anything. The whole criminal harassment charge they have against me now, I'm very confident I will be acquitted of. There's really no reasonable grounds for Sue Montgomery to claim to fear for her personal safety as a result of anything that I've said or done towards her. I've subjected her to public criticism of her complicity in Unitarian Universalist clergy abuse cover-up, including her past direct participation in misuse of the SPVM police force to shut down my protest in front of the church. So she was directly involved in complaints that the church brought against me in their efforts to force an end to my protest. Anyhow, that was a nice little police intervention. I should say that this, I believe, at least in terms of the Unitarian Church in Montreal, is the first police intervention since May of 2017, if I'm not mistaken. There was one on May Day of 2016, where the officers did actually try to intimidate me into ending the protest by telling me that, church members were looking into bringing more criminal charges against me, blah, blah, blah. Maybe if you want to avoid arrest, you should just end the protest. So that was May Day 2016. Then around a year later, there was a very brief intervention. And then this is the only other one since then. And I quite enjoyed it. And I hope the police officers enjoyed it as well. I commend them for their politesse and professionalism and basically, not pursuing things that really shouldn't be pursued, and so on. So yeah, couldn't have gone better, really, so far. And yes, we are wrapping this up. I just wanted to do a little soliloquy there, a little narration. I'm glad that my camera seems to be working properly again, because it was very problematic earlier in the day. Only going for about 19 seconds. Yeah, we got a full 26 minutes here of recording. So we got 4 left. So I think we're wrapping this up pretty well now. And calling it a day, but I'm really happy that we got this most recent SPVM intervention on record, especially in that it included an intervention from the Groupe Intervention, the riot police, the tactical squad. Hilarious. I believe this is the first intervention of the Groupe Intervention at the Unitarian Church of Montreal in terms of my protest, and it's quite funny, as I said earlier, I have in the past joked about Montreal Unitarians calling in the riot squad to try and suppress my peaceful one-man protest, and while they didn't exactly specifically call in the riot squad. Today, the riot squad nonetheless showed up because they happened to be in the area. So it went very well. And I think on that note, we're going to put away the signs and call it a day. But we are very happy that we came today, and very happy with how things turned out. So are we still recording here? Oh yeah, just a few seconds left, or maybe a minute. Yeah, I'll keep it going until we get the signs. You never know what could happen. I could get assaulted by a Unitarian while I'm putting my picket signs away. Stranger things have happened. So, come on, we're gonna go have lunch.